Here's the brief news from the world over this week. North Carolina's governor has declared a state of emergency after consecutive nights of protests turned violent. Protesters took to the streets in response to a shooting death of an allegedly armed black man by an officer who was also black. What started as a peaceful prayer vigil on Wednesday night turned into an angry march and a night of violence. A protester was shot by a civilian and critically wounded as people charged police in riot gear, trying to protect a hotel in downtown Charlotte. Both presidential candidates lamented the strife. Democrat Hillary Clinton said the Charlotte police shooting and the one earlier in Tulsa added two more names to a long list of African Americans killed by police officers. It's unbearable, she said, and it needs to become intolerable. Republican Donald Trump called for racial unity, as there seems to be, as he called it, a lack of spirit between the black and the white. It's a terrible thing that we're witnessing, end quote. And new jihadi terror attacks in New York, New Jersey, and Minnesota have raised new concerns over security and migration policies. Ahmed Khan Rahami, an Afghan-born U.S. citizen, has been charged with detonating a pipe bomb in New Jersey on Saturday morning and a pressure cooker bomb in New York City's Chelsea neighborhood later that night. 31 people were injured in the New York blast. It was incidentally a door away from a Catholic church. A second pressure cooker bomb left in Manhattan didn't explode. In a bloodied journal recovered by investigators, Rahami made references to Osama bin Laden, American-born jihadi cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, and the Fort Hood terrorist Nidal Hassan. And in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Somali native Dahir Adan was killed by police this past Saturday after he stabbed 9 people at a shopping mall. None of the victims were mortally wounded. An Islamic State-run news agency claimed that the attacker was, quote, a soldier of the Islamic State who had heeded the group's calls for attacks in countries that are anti-Islamic State. On the heels of the latest attacks, the migration and refugee crisis took center stage at the UN General Assembly in New York. Leaders from the 193 member states took part in the first ever summit on refugees. In the end, the UN approved a declaration aimed at providing a more coordinated and humane response to the refugee crisis. It has sparked divisions from Africa to Europe and strained resources in destination countries. Included in the proposal are developing a standardized response to refugee situations, improving work and education opportunities, and campaigns to combat xenophobia. According to the UN, there are approximately 21 million refugees, 3 million asylum seekers, and 41 million migrants worldwide. And the war in Syria appears to have taken a turn for the worst after the collapse of a negotiated ceasefire between top U.S. and Russian officials. Each side blamed the other at a fractious United Nations Security Council meeting on Wednesday. Russia and Syria have vehemently denied allegations that they targeted a convoy of humanitarian aid going to rebel-held areas in Aleppo. 20 civilians were killed in suspected air-to-ground strikes. And the U.S. is denying that it intentionally targeted Syrian troops in an airstrike this past week. In the meantime, the Syrian president has declared the ceasefire is over, and warplanes have set rebel strongholds ablaze. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov returned to negotiations on Thursday. And back on the campaign trail, Donald Trump is looking to strengthen his lagging numbers among Catholic voters. This week, the Trump campaign unveiled a heavyweight list of Catholic advisors to the Republican presidential nominee. Those Roman faithful who have signed on to support Trump include former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, Kansas Governor Sam Brownback, former Oklahoma Governor Frank Keating, Jim Nicholson, the former Republican National Chairman and Ambassador to the Vatican, Tom Monahan, founder of Domino's Pizza, Mary Madeline, and National Catholic Prayer Breakfast founder Joe Cella. Cella is the Trump campaign's chief liaison for Catholic affairs, and he joins us now by phone. Joseph, thank you for being with us.
Hello, Raymond. Thanks very much. Good to be on.
Joe, what does this mean? And according to reports, you signed a letter during the primaries with other Catholic leaders claiming that Trump was unfit for office. What happened?
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm happily supporting Mr. Trump. I'm volunteering for him and will be voting for him. There's been a sincere change of heart and mind on the concerns expressed in the primary. They've been allayed due to a fuller understanding of how committed Mr. Trump is to the issues and policies of greatest concern to Catholics, and certainly his commitment to judicial appointments, being those who will interpret the law rather than legislate from the bench. And certainly complementing all of that is the great selection of Governor Mike Pence as his running mate and the hiring of excellent senior staff. The top three happen to be Catholic, by the way.
Okay. According to recent polls, Joe Cella, Mr. Trump is down 23 to 27 points with Catholics overall. Now, I spoke to a pollster the other day, and he said Catholics are breaking for Clinton more than any other group. Even the Pew survey has mass-going Catholics. 57% are supporting Hillary Clinton, 38% Trump. How do you close that gap?
Well, that is, as we all know, polls are snapshots in time, and they're moving. They're always moving, and I think that information is a bit dated, and very encouraging signs on how working-class, blue-collar Catholics, even Democrats, are swinging Mr. Trump's way. Because once they dial into the issues of greatest concern, contrasting with what Hillary Clinton would represent, her presidency would represent, the choice to be more stark.
Joe Cella, thank you for being with us, and we'll be keeping our eye on your Catholic advisory group. Thank you. Mourners gathered on Tuesday in Veracruz, Mexico, to remember two priests who were found dead on Monday. The bodies of the two Mexican priests were discovered, their hands bound by their priestly stoles. This after they were kidnapped from their parish on Sunday. A driver employed by the parish was also abducted, but later found unharmed. State officials said 5 men participated in the abductions, and one of the suspects' identities is known. The motive for the murders is not. The city where the priests served have been the scene of drug-related and gang violence for years. During the last 4 years in Mexico, 14 priests have been murdered. And Father Gabriel Amorth, perhaps better known as the Vatican exorcist, died this past Friday at the age of 91. Hundreds of faithful paid tribute and attended his funeral mass on Monday. Father Amorth, who had served as the official exorcist for the Diocese of Rome since 1985, drew international attention for his outspoken warnings about the rising danger of diabolical influence in modern society. He had often complained that Catholic bishops were negligent in responding to these dangers and insisted that satanic influence is more prevalent than commonly understood. Last year, he said, quote, "ISIS is Satan. Things first happen in the spiritual realms, then they're made concrete on this earth. Biblically speaking, we are in the last days and the beast is working furiously," end quote. Preceding his death, he had been hospitalized for several weeks due to complications from pneumonia. May Father Amorth rest in peace. And the Franciscan who for 12 years served as Custos of the Holy Land is the new apostolic administrator of the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem. Father Pier Battista Pizzaballa was ordained an archbishop this past week. Latin Patriarch Fuad Tual retired in July. Archbishop Pizzaballa will oversee the diocese until a new patriarch is chosen. He says his primary role will be to promote dialogue among the many Christian denominations in the Holy Land. Archbishop Pizzaballa has appeared with us several times, and we wish him the very best. And the Catholic Church in America is about to hold its first national gathering to honor those in the food and hospitality industry, and the setting couldn't be more perfect. New Orleans, Louisiana. The Table Foundation is putting on a fundraiser and the first ever Olive Mass. Joining me to tell us about it is the host of EWTN's Savoring Our Faith and founder of the Table Foundation, Father Leo Patalingag. Father, why did you feel an Olive Mass was needed?
Well, simply because we need to celebrate the reality of the hard work and almost the vocation of the professionals in the food and faith industry. St. Teresa of Avila said, if you want to find God, find him amidst the pots and the pans.
Well, you know, I think I know the answer to this, but why was New Orleans chosen?
Because that's where you come from, Raymond.
Well,
no, but really because the reality of faith and food is so oftentimes celebrated there. And we also have, working with us, celebrity chef and his wife, John Besh. And so they served as a perfect vehicle to create a buzz and an excitement. And so we just thought that New Orleans was a fantastic place for this inaugural Mass.
Well, I could not agree more. And Chef Besh, of course, is so known. You know, we just did a documentary on Christmas time in New Orleans, and he talked about the family table, the importance of the family table. And it actually made me think a lot of your work, Father Leo. So thank you for what you're doing. We will update people on this Mass. And for more info on the dinner, there's a fundraising dinner the night before, and the Mass itself and how you can get tickets, they can all be found at thetablefoundation.org. Click on the Olive Mass. It's on the top right-hand side of the page. Father Leo, thanks again for being here. And before we go to the break, two more big events to tell you about. If you are in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, I'm going to be at the National Book Festival on September 24th. I'm so excited. I'll be talking about Will Wilder and signing books, and it's free, so come see us. And for those of you in New York, I'm hosting a very special live story-oriented conversation in the city with best-selling author of the book Wonder, R.J. Palacio. We'll be at the Sheen Center on Sunday, October 2nd. This is going to be a great event. For tickets, go to thesheencenter.org, sheencenter.org, or you can visit raymondarroyo.com for all the details. They're at the bottom of the page.